I love Neil Young. Hey, it's no secret. I love Neil Young, and I love the fact that he speaks truth to power, no matter the risk of the consequences. Hi, I'm Steve Yusko from the Long Island Sound, and I just want to talk about Neil Young for a little bit. And I also put together a montage of information based on his new tour that's coming out that he is doing with his band called the Chrome Hearts. He announced it back in February, but I first want to reminisce about the past, or my past experiences seeing, I must have seen Neil a dozen times, and he really never disappoints. And one thing that comes to mind was a Jones Beach Theater show that he did. I think Bush was in the White House at the time. Hey, Long Island has a heavy Republican MAGA segment to it. Disappointed to say. And you know what? Neil didn't give a shit. He really just sang his song and spoke out what he thought was injustice. And I give artists who do that a lot of credit. You know, there are artists out there that don't want to offend the base because they know that there's a MAGA portion of it, but I say, screw them. We have to fight fascism. We have to fight the oligarchs. And Neil really gives it to Elon Musk and Trump. And you'll see in this interview, it's a summary of an interview that he did where he was concerned about getting back into the United States and the trouble the Trump administration gave him about his status here in the United States. You know what? That shows me the bravery of an artist to say, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to speak truth to power. I'm going to sing about Ford and how they need to produce vehicles that are kind to the earth and follow what China is doing. I can't believe you said that, but yeah, it's true. You know, we've got to love the earth, and that's it's actually Love Earth Tour with Neil Young and the Chrome Hearts. His band, Spooner Oldham, is on the organ, Micah Nelson, guitar and vocals, Corey McCormick, bass and vocals, Anthony Lo-Gerfo is on drums, and Neil Young, of course. And he's doing this tour starting June 18th in Reykjavik, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Ireland, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany. And then he comes to the United States August 8th. And then he'll be at Jones Beach August 23rd. And I hope to see you there because I definitely plan on seeing Neil Young. Man, the guy can still rock. Hey, I'm really interested in having you comment. Obviously, share this video if you like what you hear and subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments section your thoughts, whether you agree with me or disagree. We all have a right to speak our mind. I don't want too many trolls, but it happens. What can you do? And I always respond to every comment out there. So, hey, check this out. It's a little montage, a summary, if you will, from Spotlight on Sound, our offshoot, which is a way of looking at summarizing some of the interviews Neil has done recently. And check out his tour and this great information. Again, leave a comment and thank you for joining us. Come on, let's check it out together.
Today, we're really getting into the world of Neil Young. We've got a few different things to look at.
Yeah, it's quite a mix. We've got that recent BBC piece about the new tour documentary.
Right, the one from his 2023 solo tour, and then excerpts from a couple of interviews.
Where he talks about his career, songwriting, his past. Quite a bit.
Exactly. So our mission, really, is to unpack what all this tells us about Neil Young, you know, the artist and the person behind the music.
And it gives such a layered picture, doesn't it?
Wow.
It's not just one angle.
No, definitely not.
You've got his wife's film, which sounds really intimate, then his own reflections, and then him being very current and outspoken.
Yeah, it's a great combination. So let's start with that documentary. The BBC article calls it Coastal, directed by Daryl Hannah.
And the way it was filmed is pretty interesting. Mostly on her phone.
I know, it sounds so spontaneous. Which kind of fits, because the tour itself was his return after 4 years away.
And the article mentions he still gets nervous before going on stage.
It's kind of hard to imagine him being nervous. But Hannah apparently said he always has that moment of doubt.
Adds a human element, I suppose. And that desire for spontaneity, not having strict rehearsals.
Yeah.
That must have made filming a bit tricky.
Oh, definitely. The article talks about how the set list kept changing, and he'd play like Heart of Gold or like a Hurricane on different instruments each night.
Right, so the crew wouldn't know what was coming. They might expect guitar based on a sound check.
And then, bam, he's on the piano instead. They apparently missed filming some things because of it, like Expecting to Fly.
Wow. Still, sounds like they caught some rarities, though. Vampire Blues, If You Got Love, Prime of Life. Fans will love that.
For sure. But the article suggests the really compelling stuff might be the offstage moments.
Yeah, those scenes on the tour bus with his driver, Jerry Don Burden, talking about scenery and snacks and set lists.
Just normal conversation. And moments with his son Ben, too.
It gives you that less guarded view. Hannah mentioned how he's basically the same talking to his driver as he is to an audience.
Yeah, no real persona, she said. Which kind of cuts through that whole rock star image.
It really does. And her point about him being driven by his creative muse above everything else, money, fame, whatever, that rings true, doesn't it?
Totally. It fits the image of him as this uncompromising artist.
And then she used words like warmth and innocence, too, which might surprise some people.
It paints a more complex picture, for sure. That authenticity seems key. Okay, so let's switch over to the interviews. That famous line, "It's better to burn out than to fade away."
Ah, yes. He clarified that, didn't he? Saying rock and roll, burning out young, like Hendrix or Cobain. That's kind of the archetype.
Right, a romantic, tragic ideal almost.
But then he makes a crucial distinction. He says life is much bigger than just rock and roll.
Meaning family, nature, relationships, all that other stuff.
Exactly. So rock and roll is just one part of it. It adds a lot of nuance to that line, you know? It's not just about self-destruction.
Yeah, it makes you think maybe his approach now, focusing on longevity perhaps, is an evolution of that idea in his actual life.
Could be. And he talks about his independence, too, like just stopping a tour when he felt like it.
He actually said he was spoiled in that way. He just does what he wants until he's done. That's pretty rare control.
It really is. And then the stuff about CSN, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Graham Nash's description of him.
Oh yeah, about wanting to get it on the first take, putting his heart out immediately.
Young apparently completely agreed with that. Said it captures their bond, even with all the ups and downs. It highlights that need for immediate, authentic expression.
And he didn't rule out working with them again, or Crazy Horse. Said the chances are as good as they ever been.
That'll get fans excited.
Yeah.
He also praised his current band, Promise of the Real.
Because they know his huge back catalog so well, right?
Yeah, that musical connection seems vital to him, being able to pull out anything. He even described this physical feeling on stage.
The cool breeze.
Yeah, when the energy connects with the audience, he feels this cool breeze up his nose. Such a specific sensory description.
It really is. He also got pretty candid about drug use.
Starting back in Toronto with hash and marijuana, then amphetamines for maybe a year.
But he still uses marijuana, he said, for relaxation, listening to music.
Right. But he made a point of saying he stopped using little white powder around age 40.
And his advice to young people was quite measured, wasn't it?
Very. Basically, make your own choices. Be aware that what works for one person might not work for another. No glorification, just personal responsibility.
Yeah, that felt responsible. And finally, in that section, how he sees his songs.
Right. He just creates them and moves on. Doesn't worry about their legacy or interpretation too much.
He used Heart of Gold as the example. Knows it's huge, knows some people think it doesn't represent everything he does.
And he's okay with that. It's like the act of creation is the main thing for him.
Which actually is a good lead-in to the other interview excerpt about that brand new song.
Ah, yeah, the one he debuted at the Light of the Blues benefit. Let's roll again, maybe.
Tentatively titled, yeah. And this shows a whole different side. Again, very direct, very political.
Absolutely. It's a call to Ford, GM, Chrysler, American car company.
Telling them to step up on clean, safe cars.
Right.
Referencing China's progress with EVs.
Exactly. It's a really clear message about needing innovation, environmental responsibility.
And then, well, then there's that line about Elon Musk and Tesla.
Yeah. If you're a fascist, get a Tesla. It's electric. It doesn't matter. Pretty blunt stuff.
No kidding. That's going to get people talking.
For sure. And he contrasts it with a line for Democrats, too. Something about tasting freedom and getting what you want.
So yeah, laying his views out there pretty clearly. It's interesting seeing those stark contrasts he uses.
Definitely his style. And at that same show, he played Ordinary People, that massive 18-minute song.
First time since 1989, apparently. Wow.
Must have been incredible to see. The piece also mentions his upcoming tour, Glastonbury.
Right, headlining Glastonbury. Plus being named one of the best guitarists, a new tribute album. He's still very much active and relevant.
No doubt. But that BBC article also brought up his past worries about getting back into the U.S. after criticizing Trump.
Oh, yeah, because he was becoming a citizen around then, and he'd been so outspoken, calling Trump a disgrace, suing him over using his song.
And Daryl Hannah apparently said he faced real difficulties during the citizenship process under that administration. Obstacles put in his way.
Seems intense. But Hannah thinks he'll be fine coming back now as a citizen.
Yeah, sounds like those specific worries have passed. And Glastonbury's definitely happening.
With Hannah joking about him singing to the cows again, like during lockdown.
Huh, right. So, wrapping this up, it feels like we've seen Neil Young from so many angles.
Yeah, fiercely independent, still driven by that creative spark, whether it's an intimate solo show or a, really outspoken new song.
The documentary offers that softer, behind-the-scenes look.
Which contrasts so much with the interviews and the new political stuff. It's all part of him, though.
He really does seem like this restless spirit, always moving, always saying what he thinks, but still connected to his musical core. His whole career shows that.
It's quite the legacy. So thinking about everything we've touched on, the tour film moments, his own reflections, that new song, what's the one thing about his journey or his way of thinking that really sticks with you? And maybe think about what that resonance tells you about your own connection to music or the artists you follow. Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.